Hey, RetconRaider here. Before we get started today, I just wanted to give another quick shout out to our resident witch hunter, Rowan Church. Thanks for your continued support, Rowan. This episode is dedicated to you. Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to episode 52. We're on the final stretch of road leading back into Weidemark, and of course we've run into one last roadblock, this time in the form of another small army of bandits. Guess we'll be giving Wolf one more show before we finally finish our escort mission. Well, that's certainly a lot of bandits, but I don't think we've got much to worry about here. From the looks of things, they've only got 2 marksmen, so with range superiority on our side, this will probably be a slaughter. Wojtek starts us off, putting 2 arrows into one of the bandits' frontliners. The rest of the bandit army boldly begins rushing across the path towards our front line. And the reward for their foolish bravery is more arrows. Mark Richards takes aim and puts an arrow through one of the bandit marksman's sides. Of course, the rest of the bandits don't really care what happens to their archers. They just keep rushing our spearmen. Wolf ducks back, ready to enjoy the show from behind the safety of a big rock. And Rowan fires into the advancing mob, instantly cutting down one of the thugs. There's the bandit leader, Henrik the Savage. He's got a reinforced hauberk, a military cleaver, and what is that, a flat-topped helm with mail. Eraton readies his axes, begins hurling them at the advancing bandits, but he doesn't land any hits. Casorin readies his spear, as does Reinhard, and Belfontan. Ooh, and a brigand marksman sinks a crossbow bolt into Woe's chest. That temporarily reduces his maximum fatigue, but it definitely could have been worse. The brigand marksmen continue firing into our ranks, and our archers quickly return the favor. Wojtek puts down one of the crossbowmen, then follows up by sinking an arrow into an approaching pikeman. A thug boldly engages our front line, quickly followed by a raider. We have one raider moving around on our north end. I'd like to have our archers focus on their marksmen, but I don't like those odds. Well, he missed anyway, so I guess it was fate. Mark takes stock of the battlefield, sinks an arrow through a pikeman's lung. Rowan readies his crossbow and puts a bolt over the head of the wounded pikeman. Woe readies his own pike, sinks it into the raider that's menacing him, then quickly readies his shield. Facing a growing pile of bandits, Rondis grabs his greatsword and hacks his way through their lines, killing one of them in a single blow, and then dropping 2 more with the backswing. Eraton plants a throwing axe into the wounded pikeman, dropping him. Janos leapfrogs the line, intercepting a bandit that's making a beeline for Rowan. Casorin readies his dagger, plunges it through a brigand's arm. Belfontan moves up to provide cover for Rowan and Wojtek, which in turn frees up Reinhard, allowing him to move up to support Janos. He readies his dagger and plants it in the lone bandit's chest. Moving into round 3. The brigands continue foolishly throwing themselves into our front line. One of the marksmen lands a lucky shot, lightly wounding Belfontan. Our archers set their sights on the enemy marksman. And Alessandro drops the second enemy crossbowman with a well-placed shot. Wojtek takes aim at the last enemy marksman and kills him as well. Then he follows up by shooting another bandit in the knee. Potato takes aim, begins firing through the ranks. He immediately kills a badly wounded brigand, then sinks 2 more arrows into another brigand's shield. Looks like the bandit leader has decided to start throwing javelins at us. Rowan readies his crossbow, plants a crossbow bolt into his target's shield. Woe readies his dagger. He unleashes a savage flurry of blows, whittling away at his opponent. Belfontan is finally free to move up. He quickly cuts down a wounded bandit. Out of throwing axes, Eraton quickly switches off to his spear and cuts down yet another bandit. Janos sizes up his opponent, readies his hammer, but can't get past the bandit's defenses. Reinhard moves in from the side, planting a dagger through the bandit's arm. Casorin, facing off against 3 foes, cuts down the weakest of them, then begins struggling with the first signs of exhaustion. Rondis lays into his foe, but again can't get past the man's shield. Moving into round 4. Rondis loses a chunk of armor to a bandit's military pick. Oh, and the brigand leader, seeing his army cut down all around him, turns to flee. Let's see if we can lock him down with someone. Whoa, we'll start circling around on the south. The rest of my men will try to finish off these other bandits as quickly as possible. But they're not making it easy. They're just tanking us at this point. Mark fires through the ranks, breaking a bandit's morale. I'm not sure we're actually going to be able to stop the bandit leader, so Belfontan will start pursuing him. And then we'll unleash his war dog. It might not survive, but the whole point of this fight was to get our hands on the bandit leader's gear, so we certainly can't let him just walk off the map. Casorin. Casorin takes a moment to catch his breath. Rondis moves up, engaging one of the last bandits, swapping off to his shield, and he is also too exhausted, so he only gets off 1 feeble strike, which doesn't penetrate his target's defenses. Reinhard takes a moment to catch his breath. Alessandro adjusts his position, preparing for next round. And round 5. Henrik the Savage is held pinned in place by an attacking war dog. Wojtek finally puts down that stubborn bandit on our north side. Woe moves up to engage Henrik the Savage. Alessandro puts an arrow through the last remaining bandit's neck. Rowan starts circling wide. Potato drops the final bandit, and now the entire squad is finally free to converge on the bandit leader. This will probably take a moment, so let's skip ahead real quick. Round 6, and we finally engaged Henrik the Savage. Blaze the War Dog managed to hold him in place just long enough. Belfontan quickly moves in, fighting side by side with his dog. Eraton leaps in, taking one of the last empty spaces and breaking the bandit leader's morale. And Rondis boxes him in, tearing through his shoulder with a dagger strike. The rest of our men will hold their positions. Woe thrusts his dagger into Helfric's ribcage, then puts him on the brink of death. And moving into round 7. Blaze tears away at the heavily armored bandit leader. Our archers hold position. Reinhard moves up, but can't join the fray. And Casorin strikes the killing blow. Looks like we pulled 2 level ups. Casorin hits level 13, and Rowan hits level 7. We've got a 3-way tie for MVP. And the loot actually looks halfway decent. Let's see here. Looks like we picked up Helfric's reinforced mail hauberk and his flat top with mail. But sadly, it looks like his military cleaver didn't survive the fight. Still, there's a decent amount of other gear here. We're pretty low on inventory space, so I'll take a moment to pick through the loot and then we'll continue on to Weidemark. Okay, we've finally made it back to Weidemark, so let's head on in and see what Count Ravenholt has to say. Well, it looks like we've already seen this descriptive text, which is a bit disappointing. But I suppose the important thing is that our contract is complete and we get our 5,000 gold. Good thing, too, because we are perilously low on supplies here. Alright, let's swing by the temple here and get Woe's chest injury bandaged up. And now let's take a quick look at our Faction Relations tab. Okay. Well, we're still hovering in very friendly territory, but we should be able to finally reach Allied with just one more noble contract. I'll take care of some off-screen bookkeeping and we'll be right back. Unfortunately, there aren't any noble contracts available, so let's grab a normal contract. A woman runs up to you. She brings her children with, not exactly taking precautions with a sellsword. One of the kids swings their arms around your leg. He's back! You look down and grin, suddenly trying to shake the bastard off, although he just takes it for play. The mother retrieves the spawn before pointing up the road. Einar of Weidemark's been looking for you. Tell him I fetched you. Maybe he'll come and fix our well once he knows I done a favor. She looks world-weary, dragged to the hells by the cheeriness of her children. Einar of Weidemark grabs a chest off his shelf and puts it on his desk. When he opens it, a bevy of papers pop out, almost scurrying to get free. He grabs one and lays it out. On one side there's a contract, and the other a small drawing of a map. It's real simple, sellsword. I have been contracted to deliver some particular cargo to Gronenberg. I have the goods, but I don't have the guards. If you're interested in being caravan guards for a time, let me know and we can hash out some numbers. Well, I said we were going to try to avoid this work, but Gronenberg is literally right down the street, so we'll go ahead and grab the contract. Not just because it's some easy coin, but because it will also forcibly reset the contracts in Weidemark. That way we can expedite the appearance of a new noble contract and finally get this alliance taken care of. We're actually so close to Gronenberg we won't even bother with a cut. Instead we'll just... Oh, what's this? Dominic the Shield comes to you with a paper in hand. He slams it on your table and says he wishes to enter. You pick up the scroll, unfurling it to show that a local town is hosting a jousting tournament. The man crosses his arms, awaiting your response. Okay, I don't see why not. Very well, you may take part in this. You agree to let Dominic the Shield go to the tournament, and, wanting to see it for yourself, you go along too. The jousting tourney crackles with energy as you near it. Squires hurry to and fro, carrying great armfuls of armor and weapons, and some step slowly about with enormous lances hefted over their shoulders. Other men brush very regal-looking horses, many of which wear breastplates decorated with sigils. In the distance, you listen to brief gallops, heavy hooves stamping roughshod and lumbering, and then there's a snapping twang of wood on metal, and cheers erupt. As you look about the festivities, a nobleman walks up and stops you. Weighing a purse in one hand and twisting a piece of broom straw about the corner of his mouth with the other, he asks if you'd like to make a wager. You ask what for. He nods, pointing toward Dominic the Shield, who is across the mustering point, signing himself into the tourney. Apparently he is to efface this nobleman's own rider, a man by the name of Sir Lothar. A little bit of gamesmanship never hurt, no? How does 500 crowns sound to you? Winner takes all, of course. Well, I have full confidence in my man. You're on. You take a seat amongst commoners and noblemen alike. Only the local lord has any separation from the riffraff, sitting on a heightened row with the likes of his sons, daughters, and various royalty from around the land. Dominic the Shield is up next, a squire helping lead his horse to one of the jousting lanes. During the battle line, Sir Lothar rides onto the field, his horse black, his armor a vibrant purple with gold trimmings and tassels here and there. Both he and Dominic the Shield take up their lances and slap down the faceplates of their helmets. A barker shouts their names from the royal box, and then a clergyman says a few words about how this was ordained by the gods, and, were anybody here to die today, they'd sit amongst the greatest men in the next realm and be remembered with them in this one. All that said, the two jousters lower their lances and charge before either the barker or priest can even take a seat. Having never been to such an event, you can't help but hold your breath as the two riders barrel down the lanes toward each other. The horses are majestic, their legs in rhythm, their hooves tearing up great clods of earth, their armors glinting sundots across the crowds as they run. Altogether leaving in their wake streams of giddy observers and shouting kids and drunks spilling their raised mugs and young princesses gripping their dresses and wantingly brave princes clapping their hands and not knowing how it even came to be, you yourself are standing and shouting. Sir Lothar struggles to keep his aim steady, his lance bobbing up and down, the point of it wobbling in search of a true target. He doesn't find it. Dominic the Shield's lance shatters on his opponent's chest, a proverbial explosion of sawdust and splinters through which rides a horse with no rider, the jouster having been driven back over his cantle and clear off of his saddle altogether, coming face down on the battleground with nary a move or breath. A roar bursts from the crowd, an uncorked tempest which you are quick to join, drowning your ears in a blistering cacophony, swept up in a time and place you will never forget. While still celebrating, the nobleman you made a wager with comes over and places a purse into your hand. You wish to say a few words, but before you can, he angrily turns and walks off. Well, that was quite a bit of narrative text for just 500 crowns, but I guess I can't complain. It was nice of the caravan to wait for us, but now that we've collected our prize, let's continue on to Gronenberg. Oh, we caught a glimpse of some enemies there, but I guess they had second thoughts once they got a good look at us. Reaching Gronenberg, the caravan leader strikes up a conversation, as if the two of you might have something in common. He talks of his younger days, when he was a spry young man who could have done this or that. He apparently missed out on a lot of fighting. What a shame. Bored with his talk, you ask the man to pay you so you can get on out of this wretched place. Okay, that's another contract out of the way, and I guess we'll pop into Gronenberg here. They do have a noble contract, but it's for a different noble house. And given all these negative modifiers, we're certainly not going to stick around to do any trading. Let's just get back to Weidemark, and if they still don't have a noble contract, then we'll try our luck in Gronenfest and Firthwacht afterwards. Well, on the way back to Weidemark, we caught up with that group of bandits who were lurking around behind us. So we'll be wrapping up the episode by taking them out. Honestly, this looks like a pretty straightforward lineup. We've got a lot of raiders up front, a small number of marksmen behind them, one of whom now has an arrow through his kidney. And given the positioning, the brigand leader must be down at the bottom of those cliffs. Fox just took out our first marksman. Bunny puts an arrow through the hand of a crossbow-wielding bandit. And the rest of the brigands are rushing our line. As with most bandits, that's something that they'll probably come to regret doing. Okay, the bandit leader just clambered into sight. The infamous Bertwin. He's got a reinforced chain hauberk, a hatted nasal cap, and a winged mace. Nothing of immediate use to us, but certainly not bad. We'll try to take his equipment intact, if at all possible. Oswald quickly moves up to engage a separate group of bandits. Casorin moves up to engage as well, readying his dagger, and putting it in a bandit's side, then plunging it through the same bandit's hand. Rondis steps up, killing the badly injured bandit. Then he draws his greatsword and slices open another brigand's face. Reinhard moves up, whittles away at a brigand's armor. Janos moves up alongside him, but can't get past his foe's defenses. And moving... Oh, actually, let's get Vlad up front to provide cover for our archers. And now moving into round 2. Alessandro takes aim, puts a few arrows over the head of the wounded crossbowman. Wojtek puts an arrow through the man's kidney, then kills him with another shot. The last remaining bandit marksman lightly dings Vlad's armor, then promptly receives an arrow through his side in return. Rondis takes a light armor hit, but it looks like the majority of the bandits are already going on the defensive. Fox is up, but he can't land a hit on the last remaining marksman. Henry lashes out, breaking the morale of a bandit swordsman. Dominic faces off against 3 foes, and manages to plant his dagger into one of their sides. Casorin cuts down a badly wounded bandit, moves up to engage a pikeman. Reinhard strikes a bandit with a flurry of blows, piercing his shoulder and side. Janos plunges his dagger into another bandit's chest, breaking his morale. And Oswald lays into the bandit leader, but can't get past his shield. Our archers are up, and Alessandro swiftly cuts down the last of the enemy marksmen. The rest of our archers pick off some carefully placed shots at the remaining bandits. But they don't land any particularly decisive blows. Rondis takes another minor armor hit. Dominic is sent reeling back by a shield bash. Henry starts moving towards the center of our line. And Rondis takes another light hit. None of the attacks are penetrating his armor, but his armor is starting to get a bit tattered there. Vlad readies his pike, then cuts down one of the last of the bandits. Oswald moves in, re-engaging the bandit leader. Casorin squares off against two foes, then plunges his dagger through a pikeman's arm. Reinhard squares off against two foes on the north as well. He cuts down one of them with a decisive blow, but then becomes too exhausted to effectively fight the other. Rondis lashes out at one of the last remaining bandits. Janos moves up, engaging two foes, but he's facing exhaustion as well, though he still has enough energy to tear into a bandit who tries to turn tail and run. We're coming in on the bottom of the round here, so we'll do a little bit of last-minute maneuvering. Oswald finally lands a hit on the bandit leader, putting his dagger through the man's shoulder. And round 4. Our archers are up, so they continue firing through the ranks. Wojtek sinks 2 arrows into a bandit, puncturing his lung. Fox sinks an arrow halfway into a bandit's chest. Henry lashes out, striking one of the last remaining bandits. Vlad tears a man's ear off with his pike. Dominic takes a moment to recover. Casorin takes a breather as well, as does Reinhard. Rondis moves up to engage the infamous Bertwin. Casorin prevents the bandit pikeman from fleeing. And... oh, a whole lot of stuff going on here. Okay, it looks like Janos, Rondis, and Reinhard all just killed fleeing bandits. Good work, guys. Oswald holds back for a moment, waiting for some of his other brothers to join him in battle. And moving into round 5. Bunny sinks an arrow through a bandit's shoulder. Wojtek moves up, killing the bandit pikeman with a well-placed arrow, and then felling a second bandit as well. That just leaves the infamous Bertwin, so the rest of the brothers begin to converge on the bandit leader. Dominic puts his blade through Bertwin's hand. Oswald plunges his blade into Bertwin's chest. Casorin moves in. Reinhard begins circling around to cut off Bertwin's escape. Rondis plunges his blade through Bertwin's shoulder. Janos moves up, engaging Bertwin as well. The bandit leader attempts to flee, but Dominic keeps him pinned in place with several dagger strikes. Reinhard finishes surrounding the bandit leader. And Casorin finally finishes him off. Looks like Dominic just hit level 8. And MVP is a two-way tie between Casorin and Wojtek. Nice work. The loot is pretty decent. We picked up Bertwin's winged mace. I also see his reinforced chainmail hauberk and his padded nasal helm. I'll take a moment to pick out the choicest bits of loot off screen, and we'll pick up here next time. Hey, RetconRaider here. Well, today's session was fairly productive. The raiders took out 2 bandit leaders, Dominic won a jousting tournament, and we finally finished that never-ending escort mission. Sure, we still haven't managed to forge an alliance with House Ravenholt, but at least we got a few minor equipment upgrades and a whole lot of gold. We're actually getting to the point where we have more heavy armor than I know what to do with. Unfortunately, a lot of our men just don't have enough stamina to reasonably wear that kind of thing. Not yet, anyway. I'm holding on to it for now in hopes that we'll be able to put it to proper use eventually, but it's definitely starting to clutter up our inventory. While there are ways to increase our inventory space, it's not really under our control. We can't really force random events to trigger, so we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. If we're lucky, then once we've cleared our current ambition, the next one that triggers will be related to expanding the company's storage space. Next time, we'll obviously be returning to Weidemark as we continue trying to work out this alliance with House Ravenholt. I'll admit, this is definitely taking a lot longer than I had anticipated, but hopefully it will all be worth it. After that, well, I'm not sure yet. We've been doing a lot of contract work lately, so maybe it's finally time to stock up on food and spend a bit of time exploring the wilderness. Maybe we'll even get to see our first lindworm. But for now, this is RetconRaider, signing off. Thanks for watching. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Battle Brothers, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website or the fan-run wiki. Links are in the description.